Okay, here we go. So, consider this, that only if God exists can your lives have purpose, meaning, and hope. Something that I'm sure you have heard before. Well, duly, you are going to hear it again, because I wish to respond in this video to a guy called Kelly Powers, who made a video on the channel Berean Perspective Apologetics, who run the website www.rootedinchrist.org, who, despite the name, are not running a highly sacrilegious gay porn site, but a Christian apologetics site. And on the face of it, this claim could be made just as a claim, well, that's just the way it is. Unless there's a God, then there is nothing to ground, to root our purpose, meaning, and hope. But in actual fact, this is being set up as effectively a manifesto, a reason to believe. If you believe in this religion, well, if our God exists, then your life can have purpose, meaning, and hope. And so it exists on the same scale as the Muslims who say that the Islamic God Allah will grant you 72 virgins if you die a glorious death, as the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster parodies when they say that their heaven includes a beer volcano and a stripper factory. Now, all of these claims, and I admit when I lay them up in that order, they're getting better and better, at least as far as I'm concerned, but they all suffer from the same problem, that like any manifesto pledge, you need to root, never mind rooting Christ, you need to root your pledge into something. After all, what do we vote for? Any political party could say, vote for us and we'll all be millionaires by the end of the year, driving round in very, very special Rolls Royce that just absorb carbon out of the atmosphere and magically save the planet. But would you vote for them? No, because however grand the pledges sound, it needs to be grounded in reality. In reality, what we vote for is the pledge that sounds best to us, that we think there is some chance of actually being put into effect. And as it is with this, it may well be true that only if God exists that life has purpose, meaning, and hope, but in no way does that mean that God exists, so we should just start pretending that God exists. It isn't a selling point for the religion, it would just be a simple fact. But I want to question that as an actual fact. So to give me a little entree into this, and I'm going to talk about purpose and hope. Firstly, let me play you a little clip of Kelly Powers just mentioning purpose.
The Bible teaches that we were created for a purpose and a reason. Evolution and non-whatever else religion out there is no purpose in life. In fact, it doesn't really matter what you do or don't do, and therefore, in my opinion, what's the purpose? What's the point, right? Christianity offers that answer and says, you know what? We're not alone. God created us.
So ultimately, I propose this is a harder question for the theist. God, or at least the qualities of God, really don't help in this matter. What Kelly wants to do here is to push the question back a level, and to try and ground our purpose, he's trying to ground it in God, that God is giving us purpose, but at no point does he attempt to ground the purpose that God may have. I may as well do the same thing with my parents and say that the purpose of my existence was to try and serve and better the life of my parents, or to do what my parents would want me to do. At least that may have some basis that his doesn't have. And to try and explain why, let me try and give an analogy to video games, which I think is an analogy that you can give more and more readily now, because more and more people are playing video games. And I'm particularly thinking about these video games that very much give us a sense of purpose, which are these open world role-playing games where we can go around and do multitude of different things, gathering resources, making things, improving our armor and our abilities, interacting with the story, interacting with the characters. And duly when we play these games, we feel as if we have some purpose. We're often motivated to get back to our computers or our consoles to do the next little bit. There's so many different things that we feel we've got irons in the fire, and we find that purpose ultimately, until we achieve every goal. We play our way through the story. We've got the best armor. We've got the best weapons. Resources, all of a sudden, at first they're really scarce, and now we've got more than we need. The money is off the scale, right? We've got everything that we would want. And suddenly, this is an experience people have with these games, is that their sense of purpose, what's the point playing this game anymore? There doesn't seem to be anything left to achieve. Duly, we can induce that in these games, sometimes in advance, using what are sometimes cheat modes, cheat codes, console commands or hacks that enact something within a game which ironically is often termed God mode, whereupon our character is made invincible or is given the best weapons or the best armor or infinite resources and money. No longer do we need to go out farming iron to make a better sword. We've got as much iron as we could ever need. We never need to gather iron again. We have all the recipes for all the best swords. We just have access to everything. Most people's experience of this is that it is a kind of sugar high, a saccharine rush, whereupon when you enact one of these kinds of modes for a very short initial period, the game is fantastic and you can do all these things that you couldn't do before. But one thing that you learn is that by taking the struggle out of the game, it sucks all the purpose out of it. And within a very, very short period of time, it's ruined the game for you. There's no purpose anymore. You've got everything that you could want. Every task that seemed like it was a purpose for you to work towards is now trivially easy to complete. And what is happening here, I propose, by referring our sense of purpose back to God, God operates in God mode. It is said that there are no limitations to this being. So in what sense, when anything and everything are trivially easy, can we ground purpose? So my position is, in total contrast to what this gentleman would have you believe, that if you believe in a God, a typical Abrahamic, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent God, that if you want to ground a sense of purpose in human beings, that the very last place that you should be looking should be this God. Okay, that's dealing with purpose. Let's hear what he has to say about hope.
And the Bible also teaches us to have hope. That's the third point, hope. You see, the reality is, you, me, we're all going to die in this world. Nobody ever lives on forever in this physical realm that we have. And every one of us has the question, what happens when we die? Right? I'm sure you've asked that question. If you haven't, well, you're an amazing person, whoever that may be. But the reality is we all wonder that. What's going to happen when we die? The Bible teaches we will all be accountable one day, and then to judgment. We live once and then to judgment.
You see, this one never really flies for me. Quite apart from the risk, the terrible fear of hell looming large on the horizon, he's mentioning it even here. Even apart from that, it just doesn't sell for me. I admit, on the face of it, I am scared of dying. I am scared of not existing. And every few months I'll have an evening or a night where I'll lay there feeling my own mortality and just trying to get my head around not actually existing anymore, and it can make me feel quite morose, quite depressed for a period of time. I don't welcome death at this point in my life, but as much as I may fear that, as much as that may not be something that I am looking forward to, something that I would fear even more would be living forever, in whatever form. It just going on forever and ever and ever and ever and no way out. That is an even bigger commitment. Not existing is something that I can get my head around. It isn't painful. It isn't bad. Most of the life of the universe I have not existed, and it's not an horrific experience. But existing forever fills me full of dread. I propose that a lot of people on their deathbeds, unless they're very old and they've had enough. I met an old lady like this the other day who said she was in her 90s, and we was discussing with her about this. And she said, you know, I've had enough. I've had a good life. I've enjoyed my children. I've enjoyed some holidays. I've had a good marriage. I've had good health. But I've had enough now. I'm quite happy if my life ends now. Not all of us feel like that. On our deathbed, some of us are really not going to want to be there. But I propose to you, if somebody came to you and said, now I'm going to give you a choice, a one-off choice which you can never walk back. You can die now, or you can live forever. For an infinite period of time, in some form you are going to exist, and there will be no way out, no looking back, no changing your mind. It's a one-off decision you have to make. I don't think many people would say, I'll live forever. And I propose to you, those that would, those that see that as the hope-filled solution, the solution that doesn't sound really rather terrifying, are those that can't conceive of what living forever actually entails. This is one of those situations, folks, where there are only really two solutions. Either you live forever, which is terrifying, or you don't live forever, which is terrifying. So to try and sell one of those as a selling point for religion, well, it just doesn't work for me. I'd be interested to know whether it works for you. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed this video and you're not already subscribed, then hit the subscribe button. If you really like my material, I'll leave you links to my Patreon, PayPal recurring payments and Subscribe Star. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.